5,
Oh,
6,
no.
7, 8 to this.
Why the f is guy 2 reading knowledge? And why are you singing? What is this?
This is Mystery Talks.
Welcome back, everybody. This is episode number
5, 6.
5,
Oh,
6,
no.
7, 8. Let's get right into this. Welcome back to Mystery Talks podcast. This is episode number 6, I believe.
We got an artist here. My boy's rapping. What's that about?
Hey, let me do my intro. Let me do our intro.
Why the
and
fuck is
we'll-
guy 2 reading and why are you singing? What is this?
So anyways, back with another episode. We have again, I'm your host, Thai Express, back with my lovely co-host, Guy 1 and Guy 2, the usual and the best. We are the number 1 podcast in the world, the most intellectual podcast in the world, and the
Facts.
most handsome podcast in the world as well. So
Found
yeah,
out.
we have a bunch of topics, starting from, well, we have some controversial ones, one of them being COVID-19, you know, do aliens exist, conquering your fears, and exploring the wild ride of your 20s, which also goes into what conquering your fears. We're going to get into that, but first...
Just read the script.
I'm not reading the script, I'm being
Alright,
spontaneous.
Mr. Matrix.
I'm being spontaneous, okay? We don't read scripts.
How about we be spontaneous and talk about airplanes? You ever see that clip of that guy who just went up to a passenger and said, "Yo, can I shake your hand?" And then he just gets in a fussle. You ever
Or
seen
the
that?
woman.
Oh, yes.
Or the woman or the lady who was saying that lady or that man is not real.
Yeah.
What about that? What
Oh,
what
man.
happened to her? What happened to her?
I don't know.
Is she-
You ever see that
Is she
clip?
still alive? Is she still alive? We don't know.
I don't know, man. Airplanes do be tripping. I saw this other clip. This lady got in an argument, and then this guy was recording her, and she's like, "Oh, why are you recording me, you bum? I'm Instagram famous," and like no one knows who she is.
Film me. I'm Instagram famous, you bum.
Yeah.
That,
Or we
airplanes
just
are
talk about
weird.
let's just talk about the economic and political status of our country.
okay,
Yeah, why not?
Jaden Smith. Listen, we're not going to talk about that right now, but what we can talk about is something very interesting, and also what's probably most of our audience, I think the age category that we're in, right? What should you focus on in your 20s? So I think this is very tailored for our audience. Maybe, who knows? I think.
Or for anyone who's not in that category, what should you have done or what you could do?
Yeah,
You're
for all the
right.
grandmas and grandpas, please
Yeah,
let us
if
know.
you're
Yeah, so
If
if
you're
you're not
yourself-
in your
if you're in your
20s, maybe
yeah.
in your 30s or in your 40s, 50s, 90s. I don't think anyone in their 90s watching this video right now, but if you are, this might be
Real
for
one.
you, and you can look back on your life and see what you could have done in your 20s. Starting
Amen.
with, well, your 20s, it is known as your prime years of your life. So when you're looking at any sort of industry, any sort of realm in this world where people are, whether it's work, whether it's personal life, whether it's their passion that they're working on, your 20s is where you're going to most be at your peak in terms of workload, fitness, mentality, everything. So when you're looking at celebrities, you're looking at these successful people, famous, let's say, football players. They're at that age, or they're, you know, somewhat finishing that age, because they did everything that they wanted to do very early on, so they could enjoy the rest of their life peacefully. They weren't spending their 20s partying. They weren't spending their 20s, you know, doing drugs, having sex with a bunch of women, going to strip clubs, doing all this stuff, you know, wasting their time. So what were they doing instead? They were grinding. They were putting in the hours. They were working hard, going to the gym every day, reading, focusing on their goals, not really thinking about money, but really thinking about the journey, or working
The
on their
W's.
journey.
The W's.
Getting those early W's, exactly. So
No L's. We don't take no L's. No, we don't take no L's.
So
we only take
to
wins
our-
and losses, and
to
we only
our
take wins and
audience.
losses, no losses.
to our audience
That's-
who's in your 20s right now, I want you to think to yourself, what are you doing in your life right now, and how can you make it better? What is or what is stopping you from getting to your goal? Is it what on your daily habits, what can you cut out to make your life
Mm,
better, to make, your daily life better? So
Wow.
are you spending too much time on the computer? Are you watching too many TikToks? Are you not eating well?
exactly.
Are you not getting up early every day? You're
You know who
staying
you
up,
are.
or
You
you're
know who
staying
you
up
are.
too late.
Sorry.
All of these things, this combination of, habits, let's call them the five atomic habits, right?
No, no, no. Fuck that book. Don't give a shout out to that book.
I'm
We
not
did not
shouting
shout
out
out the
any book.
book
I'm just saying,
whatsoever. We are not sponsored by any book, all right? So
yes, we're not
let Morgan
sponsored.
Freeman
But
slash Thai Express
but
continue.
But
but we are sponsored.
leave a like and subscribe so we do get sponsorships in the future.
But
So
wait, guys, but we are sponsored by Old Spice. Why didn't you talk about that in the beginning?
Oh my goodness. Ty,
You forgot
please
it.
lead the
Ty,
role and talk
Ty,
about our
you
sponsor.
forgot our sponsor of the day. Okay, before we talk about our amazing topic, we just want to thank Old Spice for sponsoring this video, and hope you stay in this team forever because you're a real one. So for
Yeah,
everyone
Old
who
Spice.
had,
Fuck
yeah,
fuck Gillette and fuck Dove.
mm,
Let's go Old Spice.
yeah,
Woo!
yeah.
All right.
Okay,
We
so
can continue.
easy 10 grand. Anyways, so what was I saying?
we're done.
Basically,
You're basically being Morgan Freeman and telling us the keys of life.
your
Yeah,
current
but
lifestyle is gonna reflect on what your current habits are. So
it's
whatever
gonna
you're feeling
dictate your
right now,
future.
whatever you're doing, and your body, your mind, uh, how you construct yourself on a daily basis is what your final project will be in the future. So basically, if you're
Facts.
playing video games every day, you're staying up late every day, you're
No
doing
caps.
drugs, you're going to parties, you're not doing anything really productive, you're setting up yourself for failure in the future. But if you're eating healthy, you're going to the gym, you're waking up early, you're putting in the hours at work, and I'm not saying necessarily a 9 to 5 kind of job. You have your side hustle which you can work on. There's so many ways that you can make money online right now. Whether it's a drop shipping business, a marketing agency, a SaaS business, copywriting, the
Become a
options
pimp.
are there. Their options are there, guys. So
OnlyFans. Hey,
my
you forgot OnlyFans. That's a really
Yeah,
big fucking side hustle, buddy. Don't discredit
become
OnlyFans.
yeah,
become a pimp. Become
yeah,
an
right.
online
Woohoo!
I
pimp.
mean, if you're also a female and
Yeah.
happen to be pretty, I guess you can be a
No, no, no,
whore
no,
and
no, no,
go on
no. This ain't for
OnlyFans.
the females.
Oh,
50 Cent.
No.
Bitch, I'm a motherfucking PIMPA. No Cadillac, no birds you can't see. Dude, this guy would manage all them chicks and get all that money. I think we should follow him.
Anyways, okay, we're getting out of off topic. So, uh, basically, what Ty is trying to say is, what are your priorities right now? Right? Let's say you're in your 20s. What should your priorities be? Should you be thinking about sex, drugs, girls,
Hmm.
like relationships, or
Well,
maybe,
wait. Guy
or maybe a
two.
strip club? A strip club. What is your opinion on strip clubs, guy one? Huh?
Wait, before we talk about that's a freaking crazy transition. We were talking about habits, first of all. Can we please talk about habits before we go into strip clubs? I know the audience really wants this, but I do want to say something, all right? So,
Who wants
there's
it?
this
Nobody
Greek
wants it.
philosopher. He's our boy, Aristotle. Homie lived thousands of years ago, and he
You're a
has
real
this
one.
one quote. He died, but our guy was looking out
He
for us.
he died for our sins.
Maybe, but this is what he said. He said, excellence is therefore not an act but a habit because we are what we repeatedly do. What does that mean? Well, the stuff we do is going to be who we are. And if you choose to make it excellence, it should be not just one act but a habit. So everything you do, it should be good and that defines who you are. So question what the hell you're doing and make sure you're on the right path. Now, with that being said, let's move on to strip clubs. Is that worth it in your 20s? Maybe. What do you think?
I just want to add on. You know,
Hmm.
Greek philosophers did pave a good
Hmm.
way for
Hmm.
all the future generations, thousands and thousands of years ahead. You know, they were really ahead of their time back then. But I do want to quote
Yeah, maybe
something,
they're
or
alive. I don't know.
this is not really quoting something, but this comes, what I'm about to say here, this comes from a Roman architect. His name was Marcus Vitruvius Polio, and he defined, and here I'll explain. This Roman architect had three principles on good architecture. Hear me out. So,
All
the
right.
three basic principles were firmatis, which means durability, utilitas, which means utility, venustatis, which is beauty. So every single building that is built,
Yeah.
every single structure had to have some sort of durability, utility. So what was the use? It had to be, so durability has to be strong. The utility,
Sustainable.
what was the use? And the beauty, it has to remark some sort of beauty onto the world. And the same thing actually, these three principles can be applied um, to people. So people, us humans, we can base ourselves also on these three architect principles. How durable
But
we are.
if you're ugly as shit, if you're ugly as shit, you're ugly as shit. You can't do
But
anything.
listen,
Okay, way to spoil the dream, buddy.
yeah. So
Come on, man.
if to
They
our
could have
audience,
makeup. Have you seen women with makeup and without? There's a big
Well,
difference. That
okay.
can make
true,
you
true,
from a
Would you
true.
4
put
to
But
okay,
wait,
seven.
okay,
wait, wait. Let me just
okay?
say for the
But for
audience.
the man,
Let me just say,
are you gonna go put makeup? Is that what you're saying? You would put makeup?
If you're a man, go to the fucking gym. Take steroids.
true.
No, okay, don't take
Don't
steroids,
take
but
steroids.
you can improve yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, but just to
Don't
end
be
this
like guy
off,
one.
for our audience, I want to say, if you want to have some sort of good structure in your life, you can maybe follow this. You have to ask yourself, with these three principles that are also reflected on the most ancient architecture that paved the world, firmatis, how durability. So how durable are you? How strong are you? Do you have a strong,
So
not and
strong.
not only physically? Do you have a strong mind? It's very important. Utilita, so utility. What is your use in this world? What are you providing? What are you doing in this world that is doing good, either for society, for your family, for yourself, right?
Mm,
And the last
yeah.
one is venustati, so beauty. What also, and again, it is not only physically. The beauty can be in the works that you do. So whether, let's say, for example,
Beauty
you're a painter
is
and
wait,
you leave out these beautiful paintings for all the future
Shut up, guy
generations
too.
to explore.
but
So
beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
true,
Sure, but beauty
true,
is a standard, buddy.
true. Beauty is also a standard, correct? But
Is
beauty can be
Lizzo
whether in
beautiful?
appearance. Beauty can be either in appearance, but also in the works that you do onto the world. So do beautiful works. Be
Mm,
Ooh,
useful in this world, and
good
be
mm.
point.
strong. This is for everyone, whether you're a male or a female. This can apply to you.
Okay. So most people might have think you basically us giving you an answer for this question should have been like an answer, oh, go to the gym, just like straightforward answers. But it's actually not that straightforward because it really depends on what are your goals, what do you want to achieve. So us telling you do this is based on our goals. So you should basically try to find whatever you're looking for your future. What is it that you really want? What are you really seeking for in this life? Really think about that, and then you
Yes,
can make your goals for depending on that. So,
exactly.
anyways,
I want to add on to
I
that.
wanted. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Let me add on to
And I have
that.
a question. I have a question after you.
Okay, cool, cool. So that is a really important thing that everyone has their own world. Well, that's one thing
Mm,
that you have to realize is that you might think something and I might think something, and we might see it totally differently. And I think one key thing that a lot of people in their 20s, either very late teens or early 20s, maybe even later in their 20s, is the opinions of others, and particularly the
yeah.
ones really close to you. And I think a really big one is the role of parents. And knowing that they want the best of you, but they don't know what's best for you, might be a case for a lot of people. So if you want to try something or do something that you think for yourself is best, and they don't see it that way just because of they have a different view, they have their own world, you need to understand that the reality is that you need to do what's best for you and in your world. So always keep in mind what you're doing should be in your best interest. All right.
Hmm.
That's my point.
Yeah. And my question was, let's start with you, Ty. What is one thing from your experience, from your 20s so far, if you are in your 20s, which I don't know,
20s, 30s,
what
10s.
experience would you recommend, like not recommend, but what advice would you recommend?
What would be my advice
Yeah, if you could just give one
for
advice,
people in their
one
20s?
like exactly, yeah.
The number one thing
Okay,
I would like to
guy
say.
one. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Let's hear Ty. Ty, man. I've heard
Yeah,
you
yeah,
spoke to
Ty, go
Morgan
ahead.
Freeman, so you got some big facts with you. Is that true?
So,
Have you spoken with Morgan Freeman?
yeah, a couple times. A couple times.
Shh.
Damn, he's your boy.
Yeah.
Damn straight. Damn straight.
So,
I'm honored.
okay. Here's one thing that I will say for our viewers that are in their 20s. This can be taken as an advice or however you want to take this, but it is information nonetheless that needs to be said. And this goes for, yeah, I would say for everyone in their 20s because you will feel this at some point. The key thing here is that when you're in your 20s, there's no starting date of when to change your life. There is no tomorrow. There is no next week. There is no I'll do this later. There is no I can't do it right now because X. None of that is real. You can, like that, change your life if you decide to. It's all up here first, and then your actions bring, you know,
Do the rest.
the fruit of the seed that you plant. The seed that you plant is based on your actions that you do in the now. So that's what I want to say to everyone in their 20s right now. If you're procrastinating, everybody does. Everybody does. I have guy one, guy
Now
two.
or never.
It's the now or never.
I've never.
So one way I could put this to everyone at home right now watching, whether you're watching on your computer, on your phone, you're in the subway listening to us on Spotify or Apple Music. You have to know that there is no tomorrow. And if your life ended tomorrow, how would you act upon that? What would you do right now? Are you gonna continue your boring 9 to 5 job, going to your shitty boss every day that doesn't really like you, for a company that doesn't really value you, working for a company that doesn't value you, and
Can I
doing
add something?
doing a heavy work that maybe is for very minimum pay, and where you know that you're worth a lot more than that, you know that you can be doing so much more than what you're doing right now, but you don't start. You don't, and you're not even sure why. You know that you can do it, you know that you can do the change. You think of it every day. I'm like, I know I'm better than this. You know it, but you don't do it.
But why
So
is that? Why is that you think that people don't do the first initial like steps?
one key reason
Oh,
is being afraid of change.
fear, baby, which will we talk about later in the podcast. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot about that subject.
So
I
that
was gonna
fear,
add,
as soon as you cut out that fear of change,
yeah,
that's one step in the right direction.
because I was gonna add
It's interesting.
where you were saying about like taking the first step. Most people who are successful, they kind of use their trauma as a way to become successful, right? Some people use their trauma as a self-destruction. They'll drink, they'll do drugs, they'll do basically other things, other degeneracies, because that's their healing, right? Or not their healing, that's the way they cope. Others use coping as their advantage. They use it as fuel, right? And some people, in some way, it's like their story begins when some shit bad happens to them. Let's say you always wanted to give something to a loved one. You always wanted to give them a gift, right? But then they pass away. You never get that chance. Then you're like, fuck, why am I waiting for, right? This is like their making or breaking point. So instead of waiting for that moment, which not everyone gets a chance to have, find your fuel. Guy
It's
one,
funny you
you're gonna say
mentioned
something.
that. It's funny you mentioned that because a lot of people are so fixated on the so short term, thing that they don't even look at the potential outcomes if they do start something. And especially when you're in your 20s, I think that's the best time you should be risking and doing the stuff you want. And ultimately, your body being fearful is just an emotional thing. And it's funny, a lot of the times, the initial to the final will always have a different result. You might be thinking, oh, I'm scared and I think this is not going to work out. And once you do it, it would be the exact opposite feeling where it's like, wow, I did it. I didn't think I could. And you have such a high boost of morale.
Yeah,
So the end of the story is try to always think that there's going to be a change in emotions once you do something. So the feeling you feel right now of being lazy and not wanting to do it, eventually, if you continue to do it, you will start to see why you enjoy it and why you think it could work. So it's funny how the before and after can be the exact opposite.
And just to
yeah,
top it all off, I want to say something that are not my words specifically, but I've heard this before. And basically, the receipt of not taking the risk is going to be much bigger than the receipt of taking the risk. So you have
yeah,
to think about that as
Yeah.
well. You have to take that initial risk. You have to take your chances, because not
A
everything is gonna
calculated
go.
risk.
Calculated risk, yes. And while not all your risk can be calculated, you have to do it
yeah,
anyways. You're in your
yeah,
20s. Your life, you have a whole life ahead of you. So you have to act upon it now. You have to take advantage of your 20s.
yeah.
And it
And
will set you up for your 30s, 40s, and
exactly.
50s. And when you have kids, would you really want to tell your kids, oh, I was too scared to do it and I didn't do it? Would you
Correct.
Right.
really feel proud doing that and saying that?
That's correct. You have to also
So
be
keep that in mind.
you have to also be a stoic. You have to have a strong mind, and you have to know that
Yeah,
failures come. You have to accept those failures. You have not to be afraid of those failures. You have to know that bad things will happen and accept them. You have to know how to overcome, adapt and overcome. So, having a stoic mind, having that stoic lifestyle or presence is definitely a help for your life. I think for most men, I speak, um, and I will say women too, but this is definitely more tailored towards men. I will say. So having that stoic mind, if you if,
I
and
mean,
if you
even
if
for
you don't
women,
and if you don't
them
know,
understanding it is
yeah,
key.
and if you don't know where to start, how to be a stoic, uh, start reading books
I
about
would say,
stoicism.
but before that, like the first step that for me, or I would say for most people, is just having that desire, right? Because you said start like finding ways to do the stuff you just said, which I don't remember. There's one that you said that I forgot about what it was exactly, but you don't really get to that point just like that. It really begins by you wanting it, right? And then you dig into it, you find ways. It's if you need to find that desire inside of you to basically stop procrastinating, stop not doing shit, and just start. No
Yeah,
matter how small, no matter how much people like will bring you down, you're gonna fail, right? There's so many things, so many risks we're taking, each one of us, right? That have a higher chance of failing, but it's our desire of wanting it that will build up
correct.
the whole
It's
process in the
how
future.
bad you want it. That's a very good point. That's
Mm,
a very good point. It's how
Yeah.
bad you
yeah,
So
want it.
let's move on and sort of recap the whole 20s thing is that we've established that you want to be having all these, things when it comes to doing what's needed. And I think we've talked about the idea of fulfillment and how when you're doing the stuff that you know is right for you, regardless of how you're feeling in the short term, on a larger time frame of this whole scale, you are actually being fulfilled for the stuff you know you're doing. So you can feel comfortable that what you're spending your time on is correct.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Now, with
valuable.
that being said, how would you want the, I guess at least in Western society, how would you want to combat the stuff that a lot of people in their 20s that don't really follow, fulfillment as much as they'd like to? For example, chasing
Depression.
women, playing video games, stuff like that where it's very easy to access. What do, at least for Guy 2, I'm curious because he's an NPC. What do you think? How do you combat that?
Okay. Um, Thank you for that remark.
Of course, of course.
How do you combat like those basic desires and want like just those basic
Do you try it? Do you not do
yeah.
it? Do you experience it? Do you have discipline to know maybe, okay, I'll try, but I'll get back to work? How do you sort of
Okay,
fix
so
with
you're
that?
never gonna okay, you have to have your mentality straight. What what you have to have your limits basically, right? These are the things I would do, these are the things I don't want to do, I will never do. Let's say, okay, girls, I want a relationship in the future, right? So you not starting or not you not trying to look for one is going to be dangerous for you. You should try to look for one, but you should not be investing all your time into it. You should be like, if it happens, it happens. But you should not go over and beyond for a simple girl over your work, over your friends, over things that actually matter, right? So you should have
Okay.
a logical side of your thinking for all these things, no matter what it is.
Yeah. What do you think
Because
about
if you
that, Ty?
don't, because if you don't, it's going to lead to depression and other
It
aspects.
takes you away from your fulfillment. Yeah. I think Ty can provide more insight into that.
One thing I will say about having these sinful desires is that whenever you have these urges, these feelings of doing something that you know is might be somewhat wrong or completely wrong or nasty to do, but it's gonna give you this maybe momentary reward of maybe you feel excited after it, you get happy, whether it's a sexual desire or whatnot, you are in a way becoming a slave to these desires, becoming a slave in your own mind, and
Addicted.
not doing what you are supposed to do. Yeah, exactly. You're becoming in a way addicted. Uh,
So going to
addiction.
a strip club is not worth it.
I would say.
For the
I
first
would
time,
say
well, okay,
if someone tells you, okay, listen, I went to a strip club before, and this was my experience, and I regret it because this, and this, and then if you're a smart guy, then you say, okay, I take your word for it, and I guess you're probably right about that. If it's someone trustworthy in your life, so you don't go, but you also have a feeling of, what, for the experience, and if you have that, then sure, by all means, for the experience, for the educational purposes. But by the end, you come out of it, it's exactly what, the first person that already went there, that what told you about it, that's exactly what you felt. So it's kind of, there was a little bit more than just, oh, for the experience. You wanted to have that, you wanted that desire of maybe, sitting down in this establishment where it's like all dark, the red lights, it's kind of like this, say, satanic setting, and there's naked women, they're stripping down, they're giving you lap dance, you're touching them, and you do a lot more than that, in some strip clubs. I don't know what their limits are, but there's people that do nasty stuff there. So it's up to you to decide whether you want to be the owner of your own mind, or you want to be a slave to these addictions and to these desires. So again, back to the stoicism thing, it's
Great point.
you need to have a strong mind.
I think for first experience, it's not bad, but it's
So
not
now we
something
know
you
that
should
guy
do
too has
often.
some sexual desires.
For sure. No, I do
Okay, you're
agree.
telling me
I
you
think
don't? You're telling me you don't, Ty, huh? What you wanna
Ty's a G.
you
He
don't have
doesn't he
that?
doesn't need that.
Yeah.
Know
No,
thyself.
I do agree though. I do think whatever you're doing, like you should always think of it as a chessboard, right? What you're doing and what are the
Mhm.
likely outcomes. If you really do want to try it, you do need to understand that you need to be backed by your discipline. You know that you're going to be on track and you don't fall into these addictions. And we're going to go over the science of addiction, but if we could summarize these concepts of trying to avoid these sort of sinful things, how would you tell a normal, ordinary person who is trying to better themselves and focus on the important stuff, but maybe their friends are doing some stuff? How would you give advice to help him navigate?
Well, one thing that I would do if, let's say, I was a psychologist and I had a patient come in and he's telling me that he has these sinful desires and addictions he wants to do, I will tell them, okay, well, first, you know, this again to the audience. I want you to take a piece of paper and pen, sit down on your desk or wherever you can, and write down all the things, all the desires that you want to do. Write them down, and for every single thing that you of those sinful desires that you want to do, that you want to experience, ask yourself, okay, what is the purpose of each one of these um, what is the purpose of each one of these desires that you have? What is the end goal? What do you get out of it? And what is the feeling that you're trying to achieve, that you want to get? When you ask yourself all these questions, you can kind of do, mathematically by process of elimination, you're telling yourself, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I get from this. So the outcome of me what getting from this, from this one thing to the other, is it good or bad? And then I guess you can ask yourself, well, what is good and bad? If you look at it, if you have a moral compass, if you're a man of God, for example, well, you 100% already know what that is. Good, what is good and bad, and you're gonna tell
Agreed.
yourself, if this instant gratification, these small rewards that you're doing, these small, you know, pumps of adrenaline, or what do you call it? These dopamine hits that you're doing by
It's
doing these
short-term
things.
dopamine, and I think it's
Exactly.
low energy because you
It
know it's
is.
gonna eradicate just like that.
Exactly.
There's no fulfillment.
There's no fulfillment. Or maybe there's a very quick
But
fulfillment, but it goes
it's
away.
addicting.
And
It's addicting. That's why people get into them. That's why people get sucked into these degeneracies. It's because it's
Yeah.
easy.
oh
It's
man, that's funny. It's
it's
all
good.
short-term
It's
and zero
exactly,
long-term. It's the
Exactly.
exact
exactly.
opposite of the framework
For
you need to be doing.
So
let's say
so before Guy 2 you say something, I just want to say it's yeah, so exactly what Guy 1 just said. These
yeah, fuck guy
short-term
too.
these short-term things that get you, these very small rewards instantaneously. First of all, nothing good comes easy, okay? So all these nice little things that are doing that are so super easy to get, but they go away in an instant. Like, just for example, like masturbation, it feels really good, and then once you've done it, you feel like shit. You get the post nut clarity, and you realize, okay, this was fucked up. Why did I do this? I feel disgusting. So it's the same with most of these addictions, actually. When it comes to drugs, going to a strip club, you know, doing transactions, paying women, to have uh, sex with you. So all these things are part of that. Now, Guy 2. Hopefully, I didn't take your thoughts away.
You did. I completely forgot what I was gonna say.
Why is it?
No way. We're talking about short-term
Uh,
and long-term dopamine. How do you forget about what you're gonna say, bro?
yeah, I don't know. Not important, I guess.
Okay,
Uh,
well, let's
let's
go.
just talk
Next
about
topic.
addiction. Yeah, mental health.
Yeah, I have some experience in this when it comes to the
Mm,
science of addiction. I love to learn about the brain, and you learn with addiction
I
that,
love getting brain.
What do you mean by that?
sure, but also with the brain, we are so used to being comfortable. Your brain wants you to be as comfortable as possible. So if you have a choice of going on the escalator or taking the stairs, I know guy 2 for sure is taking the escalator, but that's the easier route.
No,
I'll obviously
that's
take the
the thing.
stairs.
That's the thing. I've never in my life do I even like even at the whenever there's
You know what you remind me of? You remind me of someone that says that, but then you're gonna take the elevator with like the disabled people with like the wheelchair accessibility. You take that shit all the way up.
that's the thing. I don't. I don't. I'm not even trying to deny. I'm just gonna protect myself, and I'm gonna say I don't because that's false.
Cap.
All right, well maybe
But
we'll have to test that in person.
yeah, we should. We should.
But I was just saying that we're designed to be comfortable, right? And people who have things that if they don't have the discipline and don't understand what they're getting themselves into, their brain can really trick them into thinking, okay, well, this is easy, and I know this is guaranteed to make me happy short term with dopamine, which is just really a chemical in your brain. It can go on and off, and your brain is a live chemical factory. It's literally what Breaking Bad is designed to make you happy or bad for because they make money selling drugs to make you happy, and your brain being comfortable is why addictions are very common. And if you're not aware of it, your brain can trick you, and your whole perception of reality can affect the way you think, and that's where mental health comes. So addictions and mental health come together because the brain sees things differently because it's not natural. Getting high from a drug is not natural. It's an we call an exogenous substance. It's from the outside. So you
Mm.
really need to be careful
Terminology
of
in that.
yes, sir. We're always and yes, actually, yes, ma'am. We don't know what gender guy 2 is. We need
Fuck you.
to
Fuck
stay
you.
neutral. Oh, how should I call you? Ty, do you know what his gender or her gender
Um,
is?
my
I
my
don't know
my
what guy two.
pronouns my pronouns are God and uh I don't know.
Definitely not calling you God, but
You need to
I
call me
will
God.
touch on something that
I am
guy
this
one
God.
said very interestingly. Guaranteed happiness. A very interesting point there. So, should we say, or can we ask, is guaranteed happiness a bad thing? Is happiness supposed to be, tough to achieve? Is the question. Is it something that it has to be a buildup of things? A bit, maybe it's a buildup of bad things, and then you need to first experience the bad to then experience, have a good feeling of what good and the happy times are.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting how the brain works, and all these external factor, all these external things that we're putting into our body that are non-natural, that are making us feel, that are putting us in a certain state of mind that makes us instantly happy, is, yeah, it's not natural at all, and it's probably not good. So this guaranteed happiness, again, I'm quoting guy one, is maybe an escape from reality for some people. Who knows? Maybe they're actually sad and they need to have a some sort of
Yeah.
form of
Yeah, it's
substance.
easy.
Yeah,
It's easy for
And
them, right? And
exactly.
it's the brain's whole perception, right? It's not natural, but it wants to be comfortable, right? So
Yeah.
always thinking like
and
that is important.
and I was gonna say, speaking from experience, some recent event that happened a couple years ago really caused a lot of people, including me, to have those types of mental issues. And that event, which was a small event no one really knows about, was COVID,
Oh yeah, very
Never
small
So
heard of
event.
it. What the
yeah,
hell
it
is
was very,
that?
yeah, it was like, and I think, but it wasn't as big as the Fortnite event, but it was still like something
No. Was it
that
on the
was,
news?
I think so. I think so. A couple, like a few times. And they're trying to bring it back apparently. So in 2023, COVID might come back. So they're preparing another attack, as it seems. Or
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
should not say that apparently, but yeah, what is you guys' thoughts on that?
I think that's
Um,
really interesting because when COVID, we obviously know COVID was really big, okay? Our lives got changed forever because of COVID. I don't think it was a small event. At least I hope so. I don't know if you were living under a rock guy too, or you were on a different planet. Maybe you're an alien. I don't know. But For me, I think COVID was something that is never gonna happen like the way it will again. So you saying it might come back, I don't think it will. I think that a lot of people, including you guys, I feel, won't really accept
Mm.
COVID actually being back. Like, are you really gonna wear masks? Are you really gonna have another jab? Because we know those jabs can cause things like myocarditis, which have unfortunately killed a lot of people.
Yeah, blood
And
clots.
there's a lot of adverse effects, and it was so rushed, we can't guarantee, and science takes time.
Yeah,
So you need to always ask like what why do we really need this COVID thing, right? Like how did COVID suddenly just disappear from 2020 till now? And doing it again, I don't think will make sense for most people. That's just
Well,
my opinion.
okay. Do you guys think COVID was a hoax? Like
Oh man, we should definitely have
man-made?
a
it,
podcast for that. We definitely do not have
yeah. So here's the
time for
thing.
that.
Yeah, it's definitely a very broad topic, and we can definitely spend an hour-long episode on just this one thing. What we can see and what we can say is that the aftermath of COVID, we learned a lot of things,
Can you pass me the
and
blunt?
some unfortunately we learned too late, or people woke up too late, or realized too late. Uh, the first and foremost, most importantly, is the vaccines. So for the longest time when the pandemic first hit, the vaccines were marketed as this, amazing cure that, if you get vaccinated, you're not even going to get COVID, you're not going to spread it. It's going to reduce your chances of not reduce your chances of death, but just basically become immune to it. And let's say the agenda or the topic online slowly started changing. It went from, the vaccine is a cure, or is gonna make you immune, to
Yeah.
the vaccine is gonna reduce hospitalizations. Then, it went from that to, so you actually can get it, but you can't spread it. And then it changed again, and they said, you can get it, you can also spread it, but you won't go to the hospital. And then it just kept changing and changing. um, the discussion online just kept changing, and all the big news media also kept going along with what these big organizations like the WHO, the CDC, kept on saying. Which, again, some say it was a pandemic because there was a lot of suspicious things that happened early on, that the conspiracy theories caught up to first, but later it was just the truth. So one of them being that COVID emerged from a lab in China,
Well,
which it was
actually,
racist to say at first,
I
but
was gonna
it then
say,
became later truth. Yes,
can we
Gta.
agree? Can we, to add to what you're saying, can we agree after COVID that all these news medias became uncredible, like uncreditable?
Yeah. I think we should definitely have a podcast about this because there's so much to uncover with COVID and what really happened and
So,
conspired and
af
all the
especially
repercussions. So,
after COVID, nothing you would see on social media or online on the internet
oh, you're talking about
could,
the censoring.
yeah, everything was not
Yeah.
val like you didn't know what was true, what was not, what was fake.
No.
And you would see like these big ass news channels just continuing and saying lies, and then you would be like, okay, well, if the big channels are lying, who do I trust?
Yes,
And
so there was a
they
pattern
made they
here.
made people against each other as well.
There was a pattern of
Yeah.
misinformation, and there was a pattern of, if you spoke out against the one and only truth, you get censored. A lot of professionals lost their license. A lot of doctors got fired from hospitals. A lot of, people that were certified in the field, or that were credible, and had years and years of experience in, uh, about virus, immunology, virology, all these things that, had them made them experts about the topic, and they spoke not necessarily against, but they weren't repeating what the big news media was saying. They were just erased from the board, and they immediately became not trustworthy according to all the big news media. And basically, we all you had to do is uh, the follow what the big news media says. You have to get vaccinated. Don't do your own research. That was a big thing they kept repeating and babbling about.
What's the point of science if there's no research, right?
Correct. What's the they think we're too stupid to do our own research, so stay away from that. That's basically how they said it.
Yep.
And right now, well, yeah,
I
guy
think a
one
lot of
says,
people are picking up. I think
yeah.
people are understanding that like
So
this
a lot
all
of
of this
people
stuff
did
is
learn.
BS.
A lot of people
But
did learn.
is it going to be enough though? Like if the government decides to do a lockdown, is that most people are not going to be able to do anything against that. Even there might be riots, but if it's not in the States, people's opinion doesn't really matter because at least in the States they have guns, right? They'll protest. But here or any other
Yes.
place
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that if
here in the
that
States,
are following this media and they starting to wear masks again. So maybe you're noticing this
uh,
right now in your city, in your country. You're gonna start seeing more people masking up again because they're starting to. There's news increasing about this new COVID variant and how they're pushing now a new booster. You have to get this new booster to get it's their latest update pretty much. So new variant, get the latest booster, and that's how you're
yeah,
gonna get protected. And that's how it started at the beginning as well. So at first it was
yeah,
just,
yeah,
listen, it's just a variant, and we're taking precautions here, masks for first the mask, then the booster, then the 6 feet distancing, and it
Yeah.
just kind of starts escalating to, are they gonna shut everything down again? Are they gonna keep us locked in our houses? Are we not gonna be able to go grocery shopping if we don't have the four boosters? So I don't want to say it's going into that direction. I want to be wrong about this. I hope I'm wrong about this, but there is a trend. There is a trend that this is a possibility, but like I once said, or I think Guy too, I'm not sure. Uh,
You mixing us up, bro.
a lot of people caught up on the or made that mistake the first time, and they realized, okay, never again. So is that gonna be enough? Is the question.
Yeah. And I don't think it will be as big just because we understand what COVID is. I think when it first came out, it was novel and new. So however much they want to push it on us, I think it won't be as bad. So that is really the end of the discussion there. We can talk about the repercussions of COVID in future podcasts, but I do want to end off with a very, very
Well,
fun
actually,
topic.
wait. Before we go, I just want to say, before we say that, I think COVID really showed me that even when something is so visibly false, people will believe it. It's so easy to fool people. There's so many ignorance in this world, people that don't think for themselves, and
Which
that's
we
what's
encourage everyone
scary.
to do here.
That's what's scary in this world because when people just become literal NPCs and just follow the wave instead of making
Follow
their
the
own or
herd.
just the herd, sorry, and the herd instead of
Exactly. Herd mentality, right? They
yeah,
want to
instead of
follow
just
what's
choosing
common.
which one to follow, they just follow the one that's shown to them. That's what becomes dangerous, and that's exactly what happened.
Basically,
So
what the
go.
majority is doing, it'll also feel right for me to do.
Yeah,
That's what happened.
yeah. What's
And
popular is the right thing,
exactly.
which
So
is
what's
No ifs, ands, or buts.
no,
correct,
exactly.
correct. And if you're on
So
the
now
other
let's
side, you're a crazy
yeah,
person, you're a conspiracy theorist,
yeah.
you're
You're
anti-vaxxer,
toxic.
Exactly.
You're
you're
It's
everything.
always the worst,
you're
worst
You're
misogynist.
basically
case
Hitler
person.
is what you
Exactly.
are.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You're worse
Yeah,
than
no,
Hitler, to be
you're
honest.
worse. You're worse. Yeah, you're worse.
Yeah.
But you know who
Well,
was not as worse?
Okay, guy two.
Go ahead.
Take it off.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. This was your idea.
Thank you. So, I was on the bus. I was on a nice private jet, and I was thinking, hey, would Trevor from GTA would Trevor from GTA be a good fatherly figure? If he was your father, do you think he would be a great dad?
That is a
It's a very good
Great
question.
good
It's a
question.
very good
question.
question.
Yes,
Yeah,
Very
I
good
think it's
that
really
is a
important
good
for society.
question. I don't know.
You should invite me to those jets, please. I would like to
Maybe.
have these conversations. Yeah. Okay.
Well, subscribe to our Patreon and we can, have some more
We
interesting
can make one of
questions
those
on a private
happen.
jet.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Ty, you were gonna say?
So, answering the Trevor
Trevor
being a
Phillips,
good
of course,
fatherly
that's his full
figure,
name.
you know,
Mm.
can he be a good father figure? Yes or no? I don't think it's as easy as answering just like yes or no. He can be a good father figure, but what I can say is that he would have a lot of information, or how do I put this? He is so experienced in a way that if he does have a son, he can definitely set him on a path that is either very good or very bad. So Trevor, he's a madman in some sorts, but also very smart. He's not stupid, you know. He's I mean, not everyone can do like a crazy bank heist, and he has all these crazy abilities, with cars and guns as well. He's a tradesman. He's a good businessman, and he's been through shit. So he's seen shit. He's been through shit. So in a way, I mean, whether he's a bad person, whether he's done a lot of bad things,
Racist.
that can also make him.
He's a racist.
He's
can also-
racist.
Wait, how's that racist? How am I racist? Or wait, are you saying Trevor's a racist?
Trevor is a
No,
racist
no,
Republican
no,
patriot
you're
that
racist.
murders people, does
You're
drugs.
racist.
You might be racist as well because you support him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
Ty.
funny, like he seems like the worst
Disappointed.
guy possible. He should be in jail for
So
life.
disappointed.
But I would actually want him to be a father
I would
figure. I think I'd learn a lot from him.
So
I
in
would
a
hang out with him.
weird way, in some off
He's so
galaxy
genuine.
He's so real.
parallel universe, I think
what we
he
need in life.
is, or he can be a good father figure just because
He's
of
honest.
all the shit that he's done. So in a way,
Mhm.
yes, I think, but it's debatable. It's definitely questionable, and
One might also say that,
it's two extremes. It's either really good outcome or not.
or one might say that once he gets to have a kid, he gets to hold that kid in his hands. He becomes the most gentle person in the world, because as you
I see
said,
that. I really do think so. Yeah.
like there's extremes, right? Maybe that's his peak, right? He needed that to become gentle, because there's always a balance. And when someone is like hella sad, is because they're also hella happy sometimes. Again, this is not most of the times, just in some cases. So maybe
Yeah.
he
So
will be a
end
good
of
father,
story. He could be a good father, and you can learn a lot.
or he might just shoot up his kid. So
You don't know.
yeah, he might just
Well, end of
Torture him.
discussion. Ty.
hang him up, or like skin him to life.
So yeah, that's that. We'll leave it off on that note, but I do want to tell our audience to reflect today on what we've said. Not let it be that sort of information that it goes through one ear and comes out the other, especially on the topic of addiction, the mentality that you have to have going through your 20s. I think those were very important. We spoke a little bit of other things and dramatic, controversial topics. Those are for the everyday podcast, but don't forget the important stuff. So that's something to keep in mind, and we'll definitely.
And you know what's important right now? You should subscribe. Okay, I know you're watching and you're not subscribed. What the fuck are you doing? You subscribe, you hit that like, and also don't forget to hit that notification. Okay, we're working hard.
Pokemon Kid 123X alone, okay?
We love you guys.
Subscribe when he can.
But I need his sub. Pokemon 123X. I need your sub.
Please sub, but don't
I
feel pressure.
depend on this. I depend. Why don't you fucking understand? I need this shit.
Guys, don't be scared of Guy too.
Yes,
you guys feel free to not subscribe, but if you could, please. There's no threatening here. We are very polite.
We'll definitely have a full episode on this COVID topic because it is very broad. And leave a comment down below if you want a full episode on that. So subscribe, hit that like button. Follow our Patreon. Follow us on TikTok. We're there as well. We have a presence on Twitter, so follow us there. You know, we're gonna do daily
On
updates.
X.com.
On X.
Right. Follow us on X.com for daily updates, and you know, turn on that notification bell so you stay in tune, stay up to date with all the best information. And why wouldn't you want to stay in tune with the #1 podcast in the world? And on that note, peace out.
See you guys next week.
And sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.